In a small, forgotten town nestled deep within a dense forest, there was a house that no one dared to enter. It had been abandoned for decades, its windows boarded up, its walls crumbling, and its garden overrun with thorny vines. The townspeople spoke of the house in hushed tones, warning each other to stay away, for it was said to be cursed. One crisp autumn evening, a young man named Daniel, new to the town, heard the stories but dismissed them as superstitions. He was an adventurous spirit, drawn to the thrill of the unknown, and the thought of a haunted house intrigued him more than it frightened him. So, with a flashlight in hand and a heart full of curiosity, he set off towards the old house, determined to uncover its secrets. The air grew colder as he approached the house, and an unsettling silence fell over the woods. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that seemed to dance on their own. Daniel hesitated at the creaking gate, but his resolve hardened, and he pushed it open with a loud groan. The sound echoed through the night, as if warning him to turn back. He stepped inside the overgrown yard, the tall grass brushing against his legs. The house loomed before him, its darkened windows like hollow eyes staring down at him. He could feel the weight of the house's history pressing down on him, but he shook off the feeling and made his way to the front door. The door was surprisingly easy to open, as if it had been waiting for him. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. The floorboards creaked under his weight, and the walls seemed to close in on him as he ventured further into the house. The only sound was the soft hum of his flashlight as it cut through the darkness. As Daniel explored the house, he noticed strange things. The temperature would drop suddenly in certain rooms, and he would hear faint whispers just out of earshot. The whispers seemed to be coming from the walls themselves, growing louder the deeper he went. He tried to make out the words, but they were in a language he didn't recognize, twisted and broken like a forgotten chant. He reached what appeared to be a study, its walls lined with dusty books and yellowed papers scattered across the floor. In the center of the room was a large, ornate mirror, its surface covered in a thick layer of grime. Daniel wiped away the dirt with his sleeve, revealing his reflection, or so he thought. His reflection smiled back at him, but Daniel hadn't moved. The smile widened, stretching unnaturally across his reflection's face, the eyes growing dark and hollow. A cold dread washed over him as he realized that whatever was in the mirror was not him. The reflection began to whisper, its voice a low, guttural rasp that sent shivers down Daniel's spine. "You should not have come," it hissed. "You are not welcome here." Daniel stumbled back, but his reflection did not move. Instead, it reached out a hand, pressing against the inside of the mirror as if trying to break free. Cracks began to spiderweb across the glass, and the room filled with the sound of shattering. Panicking, Daniel turned to flee, but the door slammed shut before he could reach it. The whispers grew louder, filling his head, drowning out his thoughts. The shadows in the room seemed to come alive, swirling around him, trapping him in their cold embrace. The mirror shattered, and the last thing Daniel saw was his own face twisted in terror, staring back at him from 100 tiny shards. The darkness consumed him, and the whispers finally fell silent. The next morning, the townspeople noticed that the air around the old house felt different, heavier. But none of them dared to go near it. Weeks passed, and when Daniel never returned, the town went back to its quiet, cautious existence. But sometimes, on cold, moonlit nights, if you listen closely, you can hear the faint sound of whispers coming from the abandoned house. The voice of a young man, forever lost in the shadows.